In the shadowed corners of the world, where the flicker of faith still burns in the hearts of the hopeful, there lies a seductive promise, a whisper of divine conversations for those willing to pay the price. With congregations vast as seas and coffers that overflow, they proclaim a path to the divine, accessible not through penance, but through the currency of the mortal realm. As the unseen observer in these hallowed halls, I've watched with a mixture of amusement and disdain the leaders of these congregations, robed not in modesty but in the finest fabrics, speak of salvation while their hands grasp tightly to the riches of the world. It's a spectacle that would be laughable if it weren't so tragically captivating to those who seek solace and meaning. From my vantage point, veiled in the unseen, I've observed the dance of greed and manipulation. A performance that would make the most cunning of demons proud. As I wander through the fancy halls of these holy men, a question keeps buzzing around, like a mystery hidden in all the fancy stuff that these leaders show off. How can a preacher, who's supposed to look after his people, enjoy such a fancy lifestyle, wearing expensive things and living large? Their members look up to him, full of hope, and sometimes feeling pretty low. But there he is, living it up with what they've given. It just doesn't seem to add up, seeing someone who's meant to be all about helping others, swimming in stuff that his followers can hardly dream of. It's like watching something that doesn't make sense. People are giving every last bit of their money, thinking it's for a good reason. But instead, it's just making the rich pastors even richer. These pastors aren't using fancy airplanes to share their faith or help others. Private jets slice through the heavens, not to spread the word, but to ferry the holy men from one luxury to another. Their journeys are funded by the sweat and tears of their congregants. It's pretty wild that the hard work and sometimes even the sadness of these people are paying for all that luxury. It's weird how people just keep following these leaders, not caring that they live so differently. Why do folks who can barely fill their cupboards keep giving their money to people who eat the fanciest food, sleep in super comfy beds, and travel all over in style? Is the divine light so selective that despite fervent prayers and generous offerings, it fails to grace the lives of the devoted with even a sliver of the prosperity promised from the pulpit? Or maybe the magic blessings from the pulpit are picky. Everyone's praying their hearts out and emptying their wallets, but still waiting for that sprinkle of prosperity. Are they not praying with the right accent? Or hard enough? Are their prayers whispered in the wrong tone? Their faith lacking in fervor? Or is it simply that their seed is not enough to harvest the blessings they so desperately seek? Or, let me guess, they haven't poured enough of their cash into the holy blessing machine to hit the jackpot they've been promised. The answer, whispered on the wind and echoed in the empty promises, is a cruel jest. Increase your seed. Sow more into the fertile ground of these beliefs, and wait for the miracles to unfold. The solution is always more, never less. Give until it hurts, and then give some more. For the divine vending machine is a fickle beast that demands constant feeding. Whispers of justification echo through the gilded halls, a twisted melody played by those who claim to be messengers of the divine. To serve God, one must live in the light of His grace, they proclaim, their words dripping with a veneer of sanctity. Yet, beneath this gleaming surface lurks a stark contradiction. A chasm between the teachings they espouse and the opulence in which they bask. How, one might wonder, can a servant of the divine justify the splendor of their existence, replete with private jets and palaces, when their flock struggles for the day's bread? This question, heavy with the scent of betrayal, hangs unanswered in the air, thick as fog. The faithful, their eyes wide with reverence, seem blind to the disparity, their hearts ensnared by the promise of salvation. Why do they not see the chains of gold and silk that bind their shepherds? Why do they willingly fill the coffers that fuel a lifestyle so starkly at odds with the simplicity of faith? Increase your offering, sow your seed with more generosity, and wait for the blessings to rain down upon you. A cruel game of chance, where the house always wins, and the stakes are the souls of those who dare to play. And yet, amidst this grand deception, a question arises from the depths of my own being. How do these architects of faith, these weavers of illusions, reconcile their opulence with the essence of their teachings? Does the mask ever chafe against the skin? The cognitive dissonance must be a poison coursing through their veins, a relentless specter that haunts their every step. To deceive and exploit, to watch as the light fades from the eyes of those who offer their last coin. These actions undoubtedly corrode the soul, leaving behind a hollow shell. Still, they stand, unyielding, their smiles wide, their hands ever outstretched for more. Is it a testament to their conviction, or a sign of a void so vast that no amount of wealth or adulation can fill it? As I ponder this, the shadows around me seem to whisper in agreement, a dark chorus that knows too well the price of deception. For in the end, the greatest trick is not convincing the world of one's sanctity, but in believing that the facade can hold against the weight of truth. The grand illusion is meticulously crafted, a narrative spun from the threads of hope and desire. These holy leaders, masters of persuasion, cloak themselves in the aura of the blessed. "Behold my life," they declare, standing before them, their wealth a legacy to the favor they claim to have found in the eyes of the divine. This spectacle, dazzling in its audacity, serves a singular purpose: to sell a dream, a divine transaction, where faith is measured in currency, and blessings are commodities to be bought and sold. To achieve this, you must give, follow, obey, and do as I command, they preach. The formula is simple, yet intoxicatingly seductive. Increase your seed, invest in your spiritual future, and when calamities befall the world, you shall stand untouched. Such promises, grandiose and unfounded, tap into the deepest fears and highest hopes of their audience, weaving a safety net from the thinnest of air. And yet, the ultimate deception lies in the sale of miracles, a masterstroke of manipulation. With the right words, the right ambience, miracles seem to manifest. Yet upon closer scrutiny, they unravel to reveal nothing beyond the power of belief. A placebo effect, dressed in the robes of divine intervention. This craft, honed to perfection, leaves little room for the light of truth to penetrate. The followers, caught in the web of promises and fear, continue to pour their resources, their faith, their very lives into the hands of those who would exploit them under the guise of guidance. The cycle perpetuates, a self-sustaining ecosystem of faith and deception, where the only miracles are those conjured by the skillful manipulation of belief, and the only blessings are those claimed by the architects of this grand charade. The audacity, the sheer will to maintain the facade amid such stark contradictions, highlights the dominance of narrative over reality. In this world of shadows and half-truths, the responsibility lies not in leading the flock to salvation, but in ensuring the illusion remains unbroken. A dream from which they must never awaken. As the tapestry of deception unfurls, it becomes increasingly clear that the practices of these preachers diverge starkly from the scripture they claim to uphold. This stark contrast reveals a chasm between the teachings of all holy books and the actions of those who wield it as both shield and spear. The sacred texts, rich with calls for humility, charity, and love for one's neighbor, seem to be but faint echoes in the opulent halls of these modern temples. Under the cloak of night's silence, when the final echoes of adulation have faded and the grandeur dims to twilight, a profound question might haunt their solitude. In this moment of reflection, the line between the sacred and the self-serving becomes a mere shadow, indistinct and elusive. Could it be that they, in their quest for reverence, have sculpted monuments to their own glory, mistaking the roar of the crowd for divine endorsement? The very emblems of their triumph, once believed to be marks of celestial favor, now feel like chains, a self-imposed bondage to a narrative crafted by their hands, diverging from the ancient paths of humility and sacrifice, charted by the prophets and sages of yore. The scriptures, once a source of inspiration and guidance, might now seem like a mirror, reflecting back a version of themselves they scarcely recognize. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? This verse, etched in the bedrock of their faith, becomes a haunting refrain, challenging the very foundation upon which they've built their ministries. In these moments of doubt, the line between servant and charlatan becomes perilously thin. The conviction that once fueled their ascent may wane, leaving behind a gnawing uncertainty. Is the path they tread marked by divine footprints? Or is it merely a trail of earthly desires, cloaked in the guise of spirituality? As cornerstone of faith for millions, these revelations do speak unequivocally against the accumulation of wealth at the expense of the less fortunate. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God. These holy scripts warn of the perils of pursuing wealth, outlining a path that leads not to salvation, but to ruin and destruction. These words are glossed over, their warnings unheeded by those who preach prosperity as a sign of divine favor. This discrepancy, this utter departure from the foundational principles of the faith, lays bare a reality marred by manipulation and greed. The message peddled by these spiritual leaders is not one of spiritual growth and selfless devotion, but rather a narrative designed to enrich themselves under the cloak of religious guidance. It is a grand illusion, a scam of biblical proportions, where the true teachings of the scriptures are contorted into tools of deception. To witness such distortion is to observe a theater of the absurd, where the very essence of the faith is traded for gold and silver. This betrayal, hidden beneath layers of charisma and grandiose promises, is a poison seeping into the roots of belief, corrupting the sacred connection between the divine and the devout. Reality becomes undeniable. This is not the path to enlightenment or salvation. It is a maze designed by the cunning, leading not to spiritual liberation, but to a spiritual quagmire from which escape becomes ever more elusive. Traversing the path of greed, they partake in a wicked game, their eyes not blinded by divine light, but darkened by the lure of wealth. This game, masterfully orchestrated, leaves little room for the light of truth, ensnaring souls in a web of deceit. They ponder in moments of fleeting doubt, yet such inquiries are but crafted excuses, designed to justify their continuation on this malevolent path. In the veiled depths where light dares not tread, it is I who reign supreme, the architect of illusion and master of deceit. Cloaked in the impenetrable darkness that clings to the edges of reality, I orchestrate a grand deception so vast, so intricate, that it captures even the most devout in its web. I am the puppeteer, my fingers deftly pulling at the invisible threads that bind the souls of men to their earthly desires, guiding them through a dance macabre on the stage of avarice. Here, in this twilight of morality, my pawns move unwittingly to the melody I have composed. A dirge of manipulation and greed, its notes resonating through the hollow halls of these holy places and echoing in the hearts of those who have traded salvation for silver and gold. As the unseen manipulator, I delight in the complexity of my own design, a labyrinthine scheme that entwines the fates of the unsuspecting, leading them ever deeper into the abyss of materialism. With each step they take, each offering they make at the altar of prosperity, they become more entangled in the web I weave, blind to the puppet strings that guide their actions. The beauty of this deception lies in its subtlety, the way it seduces and corrupts under the guise of divine guidance. I watch, a spectral observer, as they justify their greed, clothe their ambitions in the vestments of faith, oblivious to the dark influence that permeates their every decision. It is a game of shadows and mirrors, where the truth is distorted and the path to enlightenment is obscured by the lure of worldly success. In this epic scene of cosmic deceit, I am the sovereign, the unseen force that shapes the destiny of those caught in my game. My existence is an omnipresent gloom that suffuses the spaces between words, a chill that seeps into the soul, leaving a mark that cannot be erased. My essence weaves through the fabric of existence, an unseen force, omnipotent and omnipresent, molding the fates of those ensnared within my intricate web. This game, my masterpiece, is one of such complexity and depth that escape becomes a concept as elusive as the light within my realm of shadows. The spaces between words are my playground. The silent moments between thoughts my canvas. My presence casts a pervasive gloom, a darkness so profound it seeps into the very essence of those it touches, branding their souls with a mark of damnation that no light can dispel. It is in this realm of spiritual desolation that I revel in my work, proud of the inescapable snare I have laid. The brilliance of my scheme lies in its subtlety, the way it coaxes and corrupts, leading even the most pious astray. As the mastermind behind this vast deception, I watch with unmatched pride. In my game, there's no escape, no chance for redemption, just an endless loop of greed and despair. The mark I leave on the souls of men is indelible, a constant reminder of their fall from grace, and the futility of their struggles against the chains of avarice I have bound them with. In this epic scene of cosmic deceit, my triumph is absolute, my power unassailable. I am Mammon, the demon of excess. My name a symbol of the ultimate corruption that festers within the human heart. With each soul that succumbs to the seduction of wealth and power, my dominion expands, a tribute to the brilliance of my design. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and Mammon.